today I want to talk about my writing process. When most people start writing, they actually make a mistake by opening up a tool. They'll fire up an empty blank document. They'll open up a WordPress post editor. They'll sit there and they'll... Is this I tell people they should never start writing with a digital tool. Instead, you should go completely analog. And not only do I like to go completely analog with I don't even bring a notebook or a piece of paper, because then you're staring at a blank piece of paper and you're getting just as stressed out. So what I like to do is I like to go for a walk and think through the types of things I want to say in my content. So at first, I like to just kind of go through some different ideas I have. I'm not judging my ideas right now. I'm just trying to come up with some unique ideas that I think people would be interested in. Right now, I happen to be working on a sales page, so what I'm actually focusing on is the types of benefits that I think my customer will be most interested in. Actually, hold on a second. So now at this point, I've got a pretty good idea what I want to talk about, but I know I'm going to need some research or data. So instead of doing the research myself, as you know, I have employees that work for me, writers and researchers, so I sometimes make a phone call where I'll just hit them up on the phone. And so what do you think of this idea? No, really, what do you think? Yeah? All right, here, do me a favor. Could you just get some research together on that? I'm going to go stop and get an espresso real quick, then I'll head home and we can talk more about it and put it together. So after I go for a walk, the next thing I do is I come home and I often sit at my kitchen table, usually because it's the only thing in this house that's a clear surface. My desk is never clear. But I'll sit at my kitchen table with some index cards, a Sharpie, and specifically a Sharpie marker, because when you use a pen or a pencil and you're writing on index cards, you might be tempted to write down a lot of detailed information, but we're not even at that part yet. Right now, our goal is to just try to organize the ideas we had while we were on that walk. Does that make sense? So for right now, and I'm not going to bore you with the writing. I had already wrote everything down. As I said, I'm working on a sales page for a new product, Zippy Engage, and I'm kind of structuring the layout, right? So it's like the first thing is like I want to engage the people. Zippy Engage is a software product that allows you to engage people. And I want to put down the core benefits. Now this is interesting. Come take a look at this here. When we start putting down these core benefits, I'll have the big idea at the top on an index card, right? Engage people. Then I'll start breaking things down into individual points that lead into this. Like, so if you want to engage visitors as an example, you could direct people to the right content, you can get the conversion, or you can send people to product pages. But those are the big messages. I'll start with a big point, then I'll do the 3 sub-points. Then I'll start thinking about like how to work this out a little bit. So at this point, I'll start to add some potential ideas below each subsection. Now, I like to have at least 3 supporting points for each sub-feature. It doesn't mean I'm going to use all of these points in my copy. It doesn't mean I'm going to put it all in the blog post, but I like to have 3 just so I can see where I'm at. So as you can see here, there's different ways to just start laying this stuff out. Now, sometimes I'll be like, all right, well, I wanted to talk about smart targeting, but I don't want to add too much to a piece of content. So it's like, I'll throw that aside for later. I might want to talk about creating customer audiences. That was another idea that I had that I wanted on the page, but I'm not ready for it, so I'll put that out. And I'm not going to throw this stuff out because these are all good ideas, but I'm just not necessarily going to use it yet. But the goal here, as you can see, is I'm starting to structure my ideas. Usually I'll start with one big idea, then I'll get to a couple of sub-ideas and supporting material. It's pretty cool, right? Now, still, as you notice, I haven't got on the computer yet. Many people, when they start to create content, sales copy, sales pages, or outlines for videos, they start to think they need to go digital. The problem with digital, I don't know about you, but there's so many distractions hitting me. Slack notifications, Facebook notifications, instant messenger notifications. It's so annoying, I can't even think. So I like to go completely analog for this stuff because it helps me think better, it helps me stay focused, and it also helps me create a better product. Then once I'm done, I'll stack everything up. I'll have like my ideas down. Sometimes I'll stack them in different piles like this, so I'll know this is the big idea, sub-idea, other idea, and then I'll have the other stuff, and I'll usually put these backwards to know that it's not part of the eventual core idea. And then I have a core thing here. Does that make sense? So let's go to the computer now that I got the core structure in place, and we'll finish it up. All right, hey, so we're back at the computer. As you know, I kind of go through my walking in the park thinking, then I organize on paper. Now that I kind of have the structure of what I want to write, all I do at this point is simple. I just type everything I just laid out into a Google Doc, into an outline. Now, when I'm typing this outline up, I'm not editing yet. I'm just getting my information from the cards into the computer. As I'm typing, I'm not even thinking. I'm just transferring the content from the index cards to the computer. Then, once I outlined everything from my index cards directly to the computer, I'll start reading through the outline. Now at this point, that's where things get interesting. I'll start making little notes or comments. I'll highlight a section and be like, all right, this needs some data or research. This needs a personal story. This needs data or anecdote or research. I'll just start making these notes on the document. Again, I'm not writing anything yet. I'm just getting my information into a document. And I'm making notes of where I think I will need some supporting evidence. This is important. A lot of people think they need to have all this stuff in advance. But for right now, you might know you need a piece of data, but you might not know what that data is yet. What's great about this, it's always easier to find data when you know what type of data or story you're looking for. So when you know you need a personal story about this, you can start, shaking through your head. Actually, funny story. When I'm trying to think through ideas, I have a tendency of turning my head like this. And one day I was thinking, why do I do that? And I remember I had a ninth grade social studies teacher who used to say that he was flipping through the files in his head. He would just tilt his head. He's like, I'm flipping through the files. I don't know if I do that for that reason, but it was just a funny remembrance from when I was in high school. But anyway, I'll kind of go through and think about personal stories or data that I might want to have. So now that I have my outline set and I know where I might want more stories or data, that's when you can either put another employee on or you could do it yourself. You could start Googling for the information or research you might need. Depending on what you find, you might restructure the outline, you may take some ideas out, put other ideas in, depending on what type of research or data you get. That's how you make a truly magnificent piece of content. It's how you have a good idea and you turn it into a great idea by doing this research first. Then, once you've fleshed out the outline, the most fun part can get started. And for me, the most fun part is writing the opening paragraph. Well, I guess not opening paragraph, the opening paragraphs. One of the things that I am known for in the world of content creation, if you go to my blog especially, if you go to socialtriggers.com/blog, you'll see almost every blog post I write, you'll see that it starts off with, so I just published a video where, or so you finally want to get paid what you're worth, or so it's 2018. I always start with so it's. I don't know why I do that. I think I do it because I always imagine when I'm creating content that I'm talking to a friend. And if I think about my conversations with friends, it usually starts off with, so you wouldn't believe this. That's how the conversation goes, and that's kind of how I write. But anyway, when I'm thinking about the opening paragraph, the thing that I'm trying to imagine here is as simple as this. Based on the article that I plan on writing, what's the most interesting thing that will grab their attention? Sometimes that interesting thing is earlier in the article, sometimes it's later in the article. You have to be honest with yourself to figure out what's truly something that's going to grab attention. So let me give you an example. I always tell people the importance of building a blog, right? But that kind of falls on deaf ears. When I tell that to people who build social media stuff, Facebook Lives or Instagram stories, they kind of just whew, I don't care, Derek, blog so 10 years ago. But then I'll tell a different story. I'll be like, so I published this video on YouTube 6 years ago. In the first 7 days, it got 20,000 views. In the following 5 years, it got another 800,000 views. How did it happen? In this article, I want to tell you more. Now, what's interesting here is that's just an opening, essentially, to creating content on a platform where your content has a longer shelf life, right? It's kind of boring if you think about it. But notice how you can come up with a hook that's a little bit more interesting. So how do you open up a blog post or a piece of content? For me, I always like to look at one of two things. First, I want to open with the biggest benefit. The biggest benefit could be something, even if it's a rare benefit. I want to focus with the biggest, most eye-catching benefit, especially now. The bigger, the better. The second thing you can open with is the most aggravating conflict. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, turns out that when you lead with the biggest benefit, people's eyes, they're like, oh, what? Tell me more. The same thing is true with an aggravating conflict. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe what's going to happen next. You kind of get their interest. This is known as opening a information gap. Or basically what that means is George Lowenstein did some research and he discovered that the psychology of curiosity was as simple as this. When there's a gap between what people know and what they want to know, they desperately seek to close that gap. So when you open with an aggravating conflict or a big benefit, you're creating this information gap that people want to close. Very simple. Now let me give you a few examples. One of the stories that I always tell people is it's a coffee shop story. And it starts off with, so I'm at the coffee shop and this guy leans over and says, hey, what are you writing, a screenplay? And I say, no, I'm working on my business. A few minutes later, he yells out, does anyone around here have a job? At this point, I realized that he was talking about me because it was only me, him, and the people in the coffee shop who had a job. Do you see how I opened this story up? At this point, you're wondering, like, well, what'd you say to him? Did you tell him that you're successful? Right? You open the gap with the conflict. The next thing you can do is you can open with a big benefit. Something as simple as, so I made $77.34 for every person who visited this page on my website. Here's how I did it. And I'm not talking about people who bought. I'm talking about I made $77.34 for every single person who visited the website. At this point, you're wondering like, oh, tell me more. Big benefit, aggravating conflict. Simple as that. Once I have my opening, at this point, I might call a few people that I know and just run that by them to see if they like the opening, if they like where it's heading. If I know I'm working with fire, though, I just leave it as is. And then I start to write. And at this point, I'm not trying to come up with any ideas. Remember, we already outlined everything and it's already there. So at this point, I'm just going through the outline and writing my stories, putting the content, putting the data, and I'm fleshing it out into a full piece of content, whether it's a video script, a sales page, a blog post, doesn't matter. I flesh it all out. When it's done, I'll usually go eat, go for a walk, do something to reset my brain, and then I'll edit it. Simple as that. Sometimes I'll write it all out and I'll send it to an employee and let them edit it. But the goal is once I'm done writing, then I edit. And that's how I create a piece of content. I hope you like this video. If you found this valuable, you know what to do. Hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, and chances are you're not, hit the subscribe and then hit that notification bell if you haven't yet so you can get alerted for more videos just like this one. Now, what I want to hear from you is as simple as this. Do you have a process for your writing? Go ahead, leave that below this video. Share every little detail. I am insanely curious. One of the things that fires me up is seeing other people's processes for writing. It helps me figure out a way to write better myself. So go ahead, leave that in the comments section now, and I'll see you tomorrow.